Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. John. Oh wait, hey, Ray Low Art said I might be a bit late, and I don't have anything new. Oh, okay, got it. So then, Fallen 3. I guess that story we went over last week. Fantastic. Okay. So this evening we have Harpies and Monopoly. What's Monopoly about, Danny?
Monopoly is a project created by my friend Ilya Press. I worked with him on a couple of film projects.
Yeah.
And we're working together on this one that he really wants to produce. We're going for
and look at this, by the way.
Oh wow, okay, yep, I've seen that. Wow,
yeah.
that's a lot of dollars, John.
That is. So Spirit of the Dragon #4 launched with wonderful cover here by Whiskey Paint. 190 backers, $9,200. John Lamont, take a victory lap.
I mean, it is impressive how many Temperance and Julia covers you keep selling.
Yeah.
That have nothing whatsoever to do with the interior,
the actual story.
Yeah.
Or the story itself.
Yeah.
I feel like this Kickstarter has found a niche in covers that, people just like schoolgirls and sexy teachers. And
dude, my schoolgirls project.
Yes.
The only reason why that's not in production now is because of bullshit, like I just mentioned before the stream.
Oh yeah.
With just not having a financing problem.
Yeah.
Like, I want
Whiskey
to hire.
Paint, man.
Sorry.
Whiskey Paint.
Yeah. For interiors.
I mean, you could, but
I need to create the interiors first, John. I can't sell 28 empty pages in just a cover, even though that's what most people are buying.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to afford interiors, and that, that schoolgirl project, I want to write a lot more of it. I don't have the spoons to get into it until there's money. But anyways, that's really impressive work. So good job.
Well, I could recommend an artist, but you don't like my artists, so.
I really do not like your artists.
Well,
and I
good luck finding somebody cheaper. That's all I would have to say. That's better.
I mean, that's not even the problem. It's genuinely finance it all. I think once Cygnus Imperium is done, I'll have a lot more money I can set aside for that. So Monopoly. It's a crime drama. We're sort of this was meant initially to be something of a TV pilot, and we're still aiming in that direction.
Okay.
And this is sort of a rewrite of a script that had a lot more characters and a lot more locations and no clear protagonist. And so here we are with something that's meant to have a bit of a through line, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how I can punch it out.
Neat. Let's see. Present. All right. Share screen. Window. There we go. Monopoly. Who would you like to narrate? I take it this is where our story opens.
This is where our story opens.
Okay. Anything you want to fill us in on? All right.
Nope. This is a cold open.
Okay.
This is episode 1. This is a cold open. So if it doesn't work, it's my fault.
All right.
Exterior, abandoned rail yard, night. Under the haunting glow of the moon, the steel of deserted train tracks reflects the menace that looms in the air. Don's goons guard Frank, M, late 20s, who lies shackles to the tracks, screaming bloody murder.
All right, Preston, you can be Frank. He dies soon. So
fuck you, West End motherfuckers! Better let me go if you don't know what's good for you. If you know what's good for you, you think you have it so good with your lattes and your nightclubs, but if you don't think this means war, you've got another thing coming.
Don gets out of his car and approaches. His words cut through the silence.
Talking about war, huh, Frank? And all that after you thought you'd be able to come over to our side of the tracks and maybe even kill one of our guys. I thought you were better than that.
I wasn't sent here to kill anyone, Don. Just to set up a fucking deal.
The Morettis want to set up a deal? That makes it sunshine and rainbows, doesn't it? Frank, I've been where you come from. Muscling in on someone else's territory means war. And then you double down by trying to kill Al. Fucking Al. How the fuck's Al supposed to support his daughter now? All that for just a tiny bit of crank? You're pathetic.
Don points to Al, male, bruised body, nursing an arm in a sling.
Go to hell.
Don looks at his goons with a chuckle.
Oh, I might. Best you send me a postcard first, so I know what it's like when I get there.
The victim squirms in his shackles.
Come on, Don, joke's over. I get it. You got your borders locked down tight. Just let me go. I'll tell Moretti, and we'll all stay out of your hair.
Don ignores him.
Speaking of which, your train ought to be pulling in soon. But I'm sure if you ask Al real nice, maybe he'll forget where you left your ticket.
A freight train roars in the distance, the ominous glow of its headlamp growing brighter as it barrels down the tracks. Don's eyes lock into the victim's, a cold finality in his gaze as he turns away.
Oh, buddy, please. It was just a mistake. Really, I was just sent to set up a deal. The Morettis didn't want me to get involved, but when I heard you were looking for a bit, I couldn't help it, man. That's our business, and you looked like that guy who beat Sherry up, and please, man, let me go. I'll make it right. I'll give you 1 kilo, 2 kilos. Just let me go, man. Let me go.
The ground trembles as the freight train approaches, its deafening roar drowning out the victim's desperate cries. Al lifts handcuff key over Frank's.
Oh my God.
Then smiles and throws it over his shoulder. He and the other goons step away from the splash zone. Don steps back into the shadows as the deadly code of the underworld claims another soul in its grasp.
Sonny had been back by now. Al would have been warned. Poor kid.
Interior train station day. Jewel sits on a bench, tapping his foot nervously as waits for Sonny at the train station. He checks his watch. It's nearly 2:45. He stares at the board until he sees that it's 1:47 from Detroit switches from delayed to arriving. Then he stands up, approaches the platform, and stands at ease as the train pulls in. Sonny approaches, gigantic luggage trailing behind him.
Preston, why don't you do Sonny?
Jewel, that you?
You know anyone else stupid enough to think an Amtrak is going to arrive on time, Sonny? What happened?
Jewel gestures toward the luggage. Sonny rolls it over to his friend, relieved. They pass a coffee stand.
Toronto to Windsor was smooth as butter. Then it was the usual. We had to stop and let a freight train pass fucking twice.
Get you anything?
A fucking coffee, a real one, without the tar and carbon.
Sonny pulls a Canadian bill from his wallet and pays for the coffee, but Jewel waves it away. Sonny takes a sip and stops to relish the sweet flavor before the two head out amongst the thinning crowd.
You finally managed to relax?
Sonny looks around, confirming nobody's going to overhear him.
Not so much, turned into more of a working holiday.
Jewel looks at Sonny, arches an inquisitive eyebrow.
There was some kind of steakhouse explosion or whatever that made it to the news out here. You have something to do with that?
Sonny grins mischievously and reaches up to grip Jewel reassuringly on the shoulder.
Jewel, it was a holiday. I just made out some new friends is all. We went out to blow off some steam, and if the money was flowing like the Niagara, who was I to complain? The only problem is they're living it up in the 6, while I'm stuck here with a suitcase full of goods to hawk.
You gotta be more careful, Sonny. Things are changing. One wrong step with the right people, and you won't even have it back to watch anymore.
Oh, snap.
Sonny scoffs, then lets out a grin.
Ha! Careful! Careful! What's the fun in playing it safe when they never have a chance to see any real action up here? Now, my new friends have a real story to tell.
You sure know how to pick your friends.
Complaint?
Not since middle school.
How's Margot doing?
It's still an irritating shithead, but also still the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
As they approach the car, Jules stops, pulls out his phone, and shows a video of his cat attacking an image of a bird on an iPad to Sonny while he loads his friend's luggage into the trunk.
Cute. You ever think of moving in with any humans?
Not yet. It's too hard to find someone who appreciates the depth of my appreciation for pussy, you know? Where to next?
Jimmy the Greek.
Can't. Eastside's not talking to us anymore. We go there and Don will have our heads if Moretti don't take him first. Shit's different.
Fuck Becker's shop then. Fucking Monopoly money's no good to me until it gets cleared.
Interior, Beckett's pawn shop. Sonny and
Becker's.
Jewel. Becker? Oh, Becker's
Becker.
pawn shop. Sonny and Jewel enter Becker's cramped pawn shop, struggling to get the luggage around the pile of amplifiers that narrows the entrance. As they approach Sam at the counter, Jewel stops early with the luggage, allowing Sonny to take point. Sonny leans deeply forward on the counter, getting a better look at Sam's rack.
Long time, Sam. Becker know those amps at the entrance are spoiling his aesthetic?
Sam caresses Sonny's cheek, fake flirting.
After that bullshit you pulled on the Sapphire job, I'm surprised you'd be back so soon. Fuck off, Sonny, before you get hurt.
Oh, come on, Sam. We both know that creep O'Brien wouldn't have done something awful to you if nobody had interrupted. Instead, we're both standing here with our insides on the inside, and O'Brien's locked up tighter than Becker's prostate. I fixed it.
Sam rolls her eyes, but she doesn't disagree. Sonny pulls a handful of Rolex watches from a hidden pocket.
Anyways, you sure about me fucking off? I got some nice pieces here.
Sam grabs one of the watches, inspects it. It's real.
Becker, come talk to this idiot.
Becker comes in from the security room in the back. Sam takes his place in the security room.
Sure, I'll do Becker. Thanks, Sam. Hey, Joel. Becker.
Oh, hey, Sonny, welcome back.
Fuck you, Sonny. The Sapphire job was a mess. The fact that you need to get Sam involved, Don didn't like you so much, I'd throw you out.
Best bet you'd love to. It'd sure be awkward trying to explain that at dinner tonight, huh?
Becker rolls his eyes.
What you got?
Sonny taps the table beside the watches and pulls out a stack of Canadian bills.
Watches and some cash. What can do for him?
Becker takes a moment to examine the watches.
Buy them all for $2, 60% for the cash.
Sonny pushes the cash across. Becker knocks on the door. Sam opens it slightly, takes the cash, and brings it back to count.
2? Come on, Becker. We both know that you didn't auction for 5 times that, or we both know they'd auction for 5 times that. Fuck you. I'll take him to Jimmy.
Becker looks up at Sonny. He knows he has him.
Being on too long. Don's on the warpath, and I won't cross him. You shouldn't either. Jimmy's laying real low.
So what? You can't auction them, or you won't. Just because I took a couple weeks off doesn't mean Don and I aren't good.
Then you won't have any trouble proving it.
Proving it?
Do a job. You prove you're still good with Don, I'll put him up for auction. Otherwise, you can have a better chance with my prostate.
Sam, what's up with everybody's prostates?
I don't know.
Just the one guy's prostate. I was trying
Yeah.
not to running gag in the scene.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam comes out with Sonny's cash, places it on the counter. Becker slides it across along with the watches. Interior dinner club night. Don hosts a luxurious dinner for Sonny in an otherwise empty restaurant. Jewel is there, as are Becker, Sam, Jerry, and Gino. A few goons stand guard. Don stands with his glass and gives a speech.
Building an empire is impossible without trust. And just like a building faces the ravages of time and calamity, So can an empire. Brick by brick by brick, it gets built. Yet brick by brick by brick, it crumbles.
A black SUV pulls up by the restaurant.
Maybe the roof decides to go independent. Then the walls. With a strong foundation, anything can be rebuilt as long as we work together.
Don raises his glass.
Sonny, things are changing. Now that you're back, they'll be changing for the better.
Another black SUV pulls up. The Raven walks along the sidewalk in front of the window, wearing a striking red dress.
Couldn't have gotten this far without you. Sonny, welcome back.
Sonny, welcome back.
Everyone claps politely.
Yay.
Sonny smiles awkwardly, not liking to being the center of attention. Suddenly, machine gun fire rips through the establishment, sending the party to the ground to protect themselves. The SUVs outside escape with the sound of squealing tires. A moment later, Aldo stumbles in the front door, bleeding from gunshot wounds.
You might have to play a character, John.
Don! Gino rushes over to help his friend. Aldo, what the fuck is you in here? Were you hit? Aldo collapses in Gino's arms. I tried to stop them. I tried. Can I get some fucking help? I need a med kit. Don rushes in to help.
Aldo, what happened?
Aldo coughs up blood while Gino starts trying bandages.
I'll take Aldo. Waiting in the car. Got a text. Tried to stop them. Looked like Moretti.
Yeah, you take him just as he dies. Aldo shows Don his phone, showing messages from an unknown number. First, a gif of Humpty Dumpty falling off a wall. Next, a photo of a black feather. Aldo passes out.
Fuck, that's a message from the Raven.
Sonny pokes his head up to check if it's safe. He sees Aldo nudges Jewel.
Who's that?
Looks like Aldo. Don's third new driver since the Moretti started making moves.
Sonny looks over at Becker. Sam kneels over him as he cowers on the ground, gun at the ready. Sonny gets up, approaches Don, and lays a comforting hand on his shoulder.
Don, I'm sorry.
Ooh, I fucked up the spelling there. Also, someone must pay for this.
Hey,
you did all this. You did all this for me, Don. I'll find who shot Aldi. I swear.
In the ruins of the dinner service, a black feather falls down onto Don's plate. Interior, Sonny's apartment. Night. Jewel enters Sonny's apartment shortly after the shooting. Sonny unpacks, then steps behind a door to change into cleaner clothes.
Thanks for the ride. What bullshit. Not even unpacked and it's already balls to the wall. It's time you told me what's really going on.
Must have started a couple of weeks ago. Moretti's guys being muscling on our side of town, pushing crank, down, oxys, you name it.
Jewel opens the fridge and pulls out a can of craft beer, opens it.
You better not just be opening one for yourself.
Jewel pulls another beer out of the fridge and places it on the counter.
Anyways, nobody really noticed, right? Till a couple of weeks ago.
This is page 11, if that matters.
Sorry?
It's page 11.
It is page 11. I may have printed off too many pages. We can stop.
Yeah, we went to 15. So I guess we'll stop here at the first 10.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's
no, it's fine. I mean, it's fine. I just wanted to, if Preston wants to go on, that's fine.
We still got your story to read. Ted is plenty. I've already got a few notes for myself, so that's good.
Yeah. So, anyway, there was action. A guy died on the railroad tracks, and that was crazy. I mean, how often have you seen that? I don't see that often.
Not anymore.
Yeah, it's like old timey, you know. Who does a hit like that? Anyway, but so yeah, we opened up with a death, and if I've got my Italian names correct, then those are the Moretti people, who were, I guess, kind of like the villains of our story. And then we got Sonny, who seems to be our protagonist, I'm guessing because we're following Sonny around a fair amount, who's got some business, I want to say, and is seeking to prove herself. Am I right?
Himself.
Everybody's a dude.
Yeah. Oh,
Even if
never mind.
everyone's a dude.
Okay.
I'm
Then
building
I just
someone else's
okay.
world here.
Okay.
There's
Then
the
Sonny
chick-
the dude. Then Sonny the dude wishes to prove himself, and it seems to be out to prove himself to Don in order to prove himself to the fence so that he can sell some watches, because Sonny is a thief and everyone is a criminal so far as presented in our story. So clearly in the genre of mob fiction. John.
Yeah, for what it is, it's a pretty interesting opening. Yeah, the opening is definitely good, as Preston said. The train thing is something that's not done that much anymore, so it was kind of cool to. It made it feel unique. Though I'm sure DNA cleanup is going to be a bitch. So, but maybe that was the idea, was to splatter his DNA all over the place. But it was interesting and unique, so I liked that. The the pawn shop scene kind of gave us our mission, I guess, our plot. Not really sure what the purpose is besides he just wants money. And I'm kind of blending my things into it. And you're
Yes.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. Awesome. In terms of constructives, so Godfather, we follow, this good-natured son of Vito Corleone, Michael. Yeah, we follow Michael as he comes back from the war and gradually gets kind of pulled into the family business. So we're kind of observing a normal, respectable guy who kind of feels the allure and the pull of the mob. This one opens up, I want to say, a bit more like Goodfellas, where we're opening up kind of, this is a mobster. These are his mobster friends. They're doing bad stuff. Hello, Ray. Apparently, all I have to do is ask if people will be there tonight, and they show up.
So people listen to you, Preston.
They do. I just need to everybody in the writer just ask one by one. You coming tonight, and that'll increase attendance. All right, cool.
I just about forgot again. I sat down and I started watching TV, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Just set a weekly reminder in your calendar and keep coming back, man.
I mean,
that's what I did. I'm here on the regular. I don't even have stuff to share most of the time.
Also, everyone who's a comic creator gets tagged when I post it in the mornings. But anyway, all right. So Goodfellas, we start kind of in the moment, but even in Goodfellas, we get now let me tell you about when I was a boy, and we kind of see him growing up and kind of gradually being incorporated into an evil enterprise. I don't know. Obviously, we only read the first 10, so who knows where we're going. I'm not sure who I should cheer for, because it could be that maybe Sonny and all of his friends are really horrible people, and they should all be killed by the Morettis. Maybe the Morettis simply represent karma. I'm seeing that there are people who have wants and drives, and there might be some conflict between the mob families. I don't know that I have an emotional stake in it yet. Anyway, all right, John.
Yeah, what I was going off of on the pawn shop scene is that I don't really understand why the need besides, I'm a mobster who steals stuff and I want money, why he's in the pawn shop, what the purposes of selling the loot is. So I think if there was a little bit more connection to that, maybe desperation, like why does he need to steal these? Are these hot? How hot are they? Who did he steal them from? Are they coming after them? So I kind of feel like that's kind of missing, which I guess goes back to what Preston was saying about not having any emotional stakes. And the same thing with the dinner scene. I mean, like the SUVs pulling up outside was like, now of course in film, you can, if you're directing, I don't know who your director is, but if in film you can tell the director, we're just gonna, that's in the background for setup, but don't focus on it. Of course, on the script, it was kind of obvious because you call it out in the script. So, I mean, it was kind of obvious what was about to happen. But again, like Preston said, there was really no, I don't know why we should care about Sonny or what he wants. I don't know why I care about him selling these watches. So I feel like that, if that's not expressed in the next couple pages that we didn't get to, it needs to happen sooner. And yeah, I mean, basically, like, so I know most all TV shows now are written for streaming, so they don't necessarily follow the standard TV script format anymore, because TV script format, as I'm sure you know, is based on commercial breaks.
Oh yeah, I know.
But wherever that first commercial break is supposed to be, we need the hook. And I know that doesn't happen in 10 pages. The first commercial break is usually like between the 12 and 15.
It's like cold open, commercial break, something into intro. Then
It's usually cold open, title sequence, and then it starts. And the title sequences are now 30 seconds.
On the particular show, I suspect. You're not wrong, anyways.
Like if it's a 1 hour drama, they typically would be cold open, then you'd run the title sequence, and then they go into, and this is first airing, not reruns. Reruns, they don't follow any of the rules. But in an initial running, especially if it was a pilot, if this is a TV show
you got it cold open, then go right to the hook before so you've got like 6 pages or so before your hook.
So that was my whole point is I feel like it needs to happen quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't even feel like we're approaching a hook. And that's kind of where I would say it may just need to be tightened up and get to that hook a little bit quicker. If not by page 10, by at least 12 or 13. Because otherwise you're going to lose your audience over the commercial break, which is like, no, technically there's no commercials anymore, because that's not the way they do things pretty much these days.
They still film it though. Anyways, you're totally right. And yeah, these are very good notes. I can see that I've solved a lot of problems with the story I was given. But there's a lot of other ones that I either need to fix, or the person who's got this all in his head needs to fix.
So you didn't write this?
No. I'm making this a story. This is stuff that was like initially a bunch of disparate scenes that like started at scene 17. There was like 4 more subplots and about 10 more characters who don't do anything that I just cut. And so like we have a through line, but we don't have a hook. That's fine. That's a great note. And no one to cheer for and no idea why to cheer for them. I mean, I'm only working with what I got here.
Right.
And initially the script was like, a lot of pages of just stuff happening with no connection between it. So I've solved that meaningfully. Both of you noticed that there was at least a plot.
Yeah.
So now just getting the characters to have, goals would be ideal. But I mean, not my characters.
Mm.
Luckily, I have a story meeting tomorrow, so fingers crossed we can solve that.
Okay. Good luck.
Yeah. And again, I've got very good notes on stuff to cut and to punch up, so that's going to at least tighten it. But it is certainly the start to something that is at least watchable.
I think
Indeed.
if you can figure out, if you and your team can figure out who's supposed to be the main character and what their objectives
I
are.
just cut out for a second there. Can you start again?
Oh, I think if you and your team can figure out who's the main character and what their overarching objective is, I think the hook will pretty much find itself.
Yeah. I mean, I had something of one, but it didn't come through well enough. So I need to solve that. Which was supposed to be like Sonny doesn't have any money. He's got a bunch of like stuff and foreign money that he can't use for anything. And needs to actually like be able to pay rent and shit. So I should just start saying that shit explicitly is what I need to do.
Or show it to us. Like, instead of having him be in a train station, have him like lounging on Jewel's couch. And Jewel being like, dude, get up, go get a job, go do something. You got to pay rent.
Yep, that too.
I mean, like that's a plot line in a lot, especially in the types of movies where a good person gets wrapped up in the mob. And I think I probably tweeted, and I probably think I mentioned it in a previous stream. But there was a low budget indie mobster film that I really liked called Three Wise Girls. And the main character basically becomes a waitress at a mob restaurant. But the reason why she gets this job at this mob restaurant is because, again, I think she's recently divorced, out of money, has no job, is being evicted from her apartment. She's lounging on her friend's couch, who works at the mob bar restaurant already, and she's like, "Oh, come get a job with us. You'll find out." And then she goes to the gets the job. Of course, she's pretty, so they hire her almost instantly. She gets along with everybody. There's a opposing mob shoots up the place, hits the main mob boss's son, I think, or his favorite cousin, or somebody like that. Turns out our main character is actually a med student who got kicked out of med school because she did something illegal, like she operated on somebody without a license. She did something illegal, so she got kicked out of med school, but she ends up saving this mob son's cousin's life. So now she's endeared with the mob and basically becomes the mob doctor. So every time somebody in the mob gets shot or wounded, they go to the restaurant because she's working there and she fixes them up. And then, of course, other shit happens as well, but that's basically the first 10-15 minutes of the movie.
That is actually quite cool. And
for a low budget movie that they probably shot on like less than $10 million, it's actually a pretty decent, pretty interesting story.
I mean,
but it's basically about the girl and her friend and basically the one of the other people at the restaurant. And the three ladies who are the waitresses in this restaurant are the Three Wise Girls. That's
quite cool.
Yeah, check it out if you can. I have no idea where it's streaming from.
I will. Like, gangster things aren't really my thing.
They're not really your genre.
They're not really my thing either. But as I said, it sounded interesting to me, so I watched it and I was like, "Yeah, this is actually."
No, John, you sold me on this. You don't have to sell me on
it. There you go. All right.
Appreciate the feedback, guys.
Yeah.
Harpies. Tell us about Harpies, John.
All right, so this is the second part of the issue 2 comic conversion. So basically, I am just looking for final thoughts before I finally wrap this issue, because I feel like I've spent enough time on issue 2 and it's time to move on to issue 3. So,
all right, let's Let's see. Page 11, panel 1, Pyramids of Giza. We have a splash page. Who do you want to narrate?
You can narrate. Why not? I'll give
Two
Danny a break.
mortars drop the
Danny
sky,
can play Desidro.
hitting the pyramid.
John, no, you're
Sending-
playing her.
Tell you what, Ray, as
Yeah, Ray can translate whatever the fuck.
Ray can play Jezidro.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm all in. This is what I get for showing up late.
Sorry, Ray.
there you go.
This is what you get for showing up late, Ray.
Two mortars drop the sky. Excuse me while I drop the sky, hitting the pyramid.
I fixed one thing and not the other thing. Damn it.
Sending forth a blast wave of dirt and debris, nearly swallowing up Aaron, Jezidro, and Longfu. That seems almost like maybe too much action, because like, how am I going to see the mortars if they already exploded and covered them? But whatever, we have a kaboom. I guess you could show like, all right, sure.
Well, the trails.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
No,
could show trails.
that's a good note. It should probably be the trail. We would see the mortar trails
Yeah,
in the explosion.
there you go.
Okay, that's a good note.
Page 12. We got 4 panels. On the exterior of the Ernst von Hupner deck. Panel 1, inset. I don't know what we're insetting into, but what we're doing.
Oh, that used to be inset on the previous page, and I made it panel 1 here. So
Okay, well, we're inset. The SMS Ernst von Hupner drops from below the clouds.
Remember what I said about a war going on? Says character who does not appear on this page.
Panel 2. Orion stands at the front of the
that
deck.
was intentional, Danny.
Wind dancing through hair and clothes behind her. A dozen Liebesstadt mechs line up, ready to deploy.
Lebenstopp Corps, move out.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Panel 3. Pyramid Plaza Day. The L-mechs drop from the airship. Well, you know, I think we can make it a little bigger. Make it a little wider. The L-mechs drop from the airship, landing on the desert sand with an echoing thud and sending up a cloud of dust. Orion hangs off the side of the lead L-mech. Panel 4, zoom in. We're zooming inside. Okay. Orion leads the L-mechs across the Pyramid Plaza.
Kill the witch and take the engineer alive. The heretic is mine.
Dun, dun, dun. Page 13, 4 panels. Panel 1, Aaron and Jezidro. Aaron shoots a look at Longfu, who states the obvious.
I think they're here for the stone.
Panel 2, Jezidro cuts herself with a straight razor, letting her blood drop into the ground.
That seems unsanitary.
Go, Ray.
Tora, Ropa, Tangu, Yavoka.
Very good. Very good. There you go.
A for effort.
Ah, gosh. I'm going to have to really pronounce that last word
honestly,
somehow.
just start swearing at John and put your contact
I mean, we'll know it's the same thing. Whatever.
Yeah. Panel 3, Jezidro steps forward, skin turning dark. Hair burning as white flame, blood dripping from her arm into the desert sand. Longfu and Aaron still held by the zombies behind her.
Behold the power of the Coven of Endor.
Endor? All right.
Star Wars reference. Okay.
Yeah, the cover.
Biblical
Endor.
reference. Biblical reference. Bible predates Star Wars.
Panel 4.
I can't help it if Star Wars stole from the Bible.
Panel 4. The ground breaks apart as a horde of zombies arrives from underneath the marching L-mechs.
That's for you, Danny.
Doom.
Page 14, 4 panels. Number 1, Jezidro points at one of the L-mechs, sending out small darts of red chaos magic.
Masif.
Panel 2, the darts of the conjured red chaos magic pierce one of the L-mech's pilot's chest, sending out massive bloody chunks.
Or Doka.
Very good. Very good.
Hey, John, have you considered not torturing your readers for months on end?
I feel like I'm the character from what
Your
was that?
paying readers?
They're just experiencing a bit of Swahili. I
Bruce
think.
Campbell.
There you go. Panel 3, the zombie Elmech pilot grabs the Elmech standing beside him in formation, holding it up over its head.
Wazurshibe, Las Mirranta.
Panel 4, the zombie Elmech slams the other Elmech into the ground, damaging the Hekatate fusion core, causing bright green light to shine through the cracks. We got a slam crack. 15, 4 panels. Aaron struggles unsuccessfully against the zombie, still holding her.
Stop. If you damage the Hekate fusion core.
Panel 2, the zombie Elmech throws the damaged Elmech high into...
Here.
Oh, snap.
Yo, Danny, what's up, man? My bad.
Just like roll in and like fucking
maple syrup. There we go.
Maple stare at your screen. Was that the entire reason you did this?
How are you,
Canada, Danny? I'm protected. You. It's like
now. Last week, Moby, you sent me a text like you had an idea of something you wanted to do.
Oh, that. Well, I mean, pretty soon I'm getting some things ready, but
okay.
My goal pretty soon is to talk to some people where we can adapt the comic to a novel, or a novelette,
sure.
Something,
It's certainly cheaper to produce.
Oh yeah.
All you got to do is write.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you look at, Preston did Gatsby. If you look up The Great Gatsby, that book is not even a novel. I think it was like, 60, 80 pages or something?
No, it's longer than that.
It is also definitely a novel.
Yes, it is definitely a novel.
Yeah. Sure it wasn't a novella?
I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure.
But Mulva, don't you know, Mickey Mouse is in the public domain, so that's all the rage right now.
Oh, man, they got Winnie the Pooh him. It's like, what's funny is when untalented people...
Hey, are we reading John's scripts?
We were, and I was just about to tell, hey, Mulby, we're reading John's script. You want to read along?
Yeah, Mulby should totally read for Jezidrow.
It's Danny, man.
We showed up.
Danny, remember, I'm protected, Danny. Protected, Danny. You
is that real maple syrup?
Oh, it's real. From I will pour this out the window, Danny.
All right, there we go.
I don't care. It doesn't affect me at all. Do what you want. Waste your own money.
Panel 3. The damaged Elmech crashes into the side of the Great Pyramid. Crash. Panel 4. Zoom inset close-up. The Hekatate fusion core chamber shatters like glass as the shard burns brighter. 1617, 3 panels. Okay, wow. I think this is like a 2-page spread. Panel number 1, splash. The Elmech explodes in a mini nuclear fireball of green energy, throwing debris from the Great Pyramid in all directions. Blew it up. Wow.
Another kaboom.
Yeah. Panel 2, the blast wave hits Aaron and Longfu and the zombie holding them, and Jezidro, knocking them off their feet. Panel 3, the blast wave hits the Elmechs, though they remain upright due to the mech suits.
Why is that 2 panels?
Because I want I wanted the image to start on page 16 and then kind of bleed into page 17, and then have the inset panels be on top. That was my idea.
Why don't you just make the protagonist really big and have them thrown across the top of the page, and just have the Elmechs standing there threateningly in the middle distance?
I'm not following.
Okay, never mind. I can see how that works as a single-page composition.
18, panel 1. Aaron gets on top of Jezidro, aiming one of her pistols directly at her head.
Give me one reason not to.
Panel 2. Match cut, but wider showing, rising up from the rubble that was the Great Pyramid. A spaceship appears. Panel 3. Orion stands against the backdrop of the Elmechs, firing their Gatling guns into the air.
That airship houses the Hekate stone. Bring it down.
Panel 4. Bullets rip through the spaceship propulsion system as it returns fire with plasma-based weapons. We got a boom, and a pew, and a pew. Panel 5, the plasma ammo rips through the Elmech pilots, leaving smoldering holes in their bodies and Elmech suits. 19, panel 1. Ernst von Hoppener, the airship fires its underdeck cannons, hitting the spaceship, causing parts of his to explode.
I'll just
Parts of
say one
whose
thing.
what?
I don't know, but parts of his are
I
exploding.
guess
Parts
parts
of-
of his do totally
Parts of
explode.
his body.
Parts
That
of
was
it to
very
explode. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll say
Or
this,
parts of
man.
the spaceship to explode. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Good thing we're not reading this during September.
There you go. Panel 2, the spaceship crashes into the desert. We got a crash. Panel 3, Aaron takes command. Hell yeah.
Long Fu, we must get to that airship. They have weapons that penetrate dire shields.
Who's Long Fu?
I'll cover you.
Oh.
Necromancer, use your army too.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Panel 4, Jezidro sits on her knees staring up at the place the Great Pyramids once sat.
It has happened, just as the gods shown me, but by my own hand.
Jezidro.
Oh no, here we go.
Wait, does Aaron even know that Nikki has a new name?
Yes, that was established previously.
Oh, sir, you do not speak of that name.
I know, I was about to say.
So Preston.
Yeah. Sorry for dead naming your fictional character.
He's
All
gonna get
right.
clipped. He's gonna get clipped right now, Preston.
There we go. Panel 1, Jezidro stands between Long Fu and Aaron. Her abilities activated. Hair burning as white fire. Long Fu holds her katana as Aaron her dual pistols.
Lieutenant, see to the airship and retrieve the Magatech, and you require the Avatar, and I will erase your enemies from this plane.
Erase. That sounds so.
Panel 2, Jezidro's zombies army charges forward as she stands behind them, pointing.
Karawaza.
Panel 3, the Elmechs open fire on the zombie army, ripping several of them apart. Panel 4, several zombies climb up an Elmech, ripping the limbs off the pilot as he screams in pain. Ah! All right. Well, John, that was a lot of action. We had a lot of stuff to blow up. So there were many explosions. We had, German battle mechs. We had African magic. I don't think we had any kung fu this time, but
John,
Just a long food.
yeah,
John, you need to involve a zebra in one scene, man. Just for no reason.
Yeah,
For the African
you're
landscape.
gonna have to wait for constructives on that one.
Zombie zebras. I
Zombie
can have her
zebras.
summon zombie zebras.
There we
Maybe
go.
zombies can ride zombie zebras into battle.
Yeah.
You can have a zebra running by the pyramid before it explodes.
I think it doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
Right,
What did you say, Danny?
I think when you go that gonzo, it doesn't matter if the zebras are zombies or not.
Yeah.
Zebra. For culture.
Well, I don't think there are any zebras.
Yes, the zebra, who are famously populous in fucking Egypt.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know that they're really around the pyramids too much, but all right.
Yeah,
you get
that's
to-
what they always say, right? Go to the pyramids, watch out for the
See a
zebra.
Yeah. Anyway. All right.
Power,
Danny,
Danny,
what do you
power
got?
commence you,
All
Danny.
right.
Well, I liked how Araya didn't have very much to say,
Okay.
and how we focused on the protagonists for most of this, so that was
Yeah.
good. We clearly know who is running the story, and it's Jezidro's magic words.
There you go. Ray.
What I liked first, I missed the
Yes.
part it was lagging, so I had to switch internet here. But there was so much action; it was pretty good.
Yes.
I kind of want to focus more on the zombies a little bit.
Sure.
So I think it was just like a couple scenes where it was just kind of like, oh, there's a zombie, and then it's like gone.
Yeah.
You kind of forget it. But yeah, I think overall there was so much action. It was pretty entertaining.
All right, Mulby.
Me, I'd say this action, but the other thing is, John, this was a very, PG-13, very clean. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of violence, a lot of action.
You feel John's content has gotten a bit cleaner over
more
time?
calm. He's more calm.
Mulby, you weren't here last week. I had a freaking lesbian witch orgy last week. Dude, you gotta show up every week. Come on, man.
John, that wasn't violent. That wasn't violent though. That was, that was more sensual.
No, I don't typically mix my violence with my orgies.
The vagina gun is long in the past, I think, at this point.
That was legendary, man.
Vagina gun worked because the character was never actually in any danger.
Vagina gun didn't work.
Well, I mean, it didn't work in that sense, but
John had a Kevlar condom
Anyway.
on. I would have been, man, that would have been crazy. I mean,
All right.
action-packed.
You got any beyond putting zebras at the site of the Great Pyramids? You got any other ideas?
Well, I think since Danny's right, maybe some camels. Like if a zombie
Camels,
just
sure.
riding a camel by accident, like he's dead and he falls off the camel and the camel runs away or something. That way you get a little more of that, that
flavor.
Middle Eastern vibe.
Middle Eastern flavor, yeah.
My apologies for the zebra, because once you said African magic, I was man, because I remember John was doing that book in Africa. He was doing that book way back in Africa.
He was, yes. That was in Southern Africa, I want to say, right? Wasn't it? Or was
Southern
it,
to Central Africa.
Yeah.
There are zebras.
And I think there might actually be zebras there. I'm not sure.
Zebras, man. John, I will. What's that word where you pay for something? I'll repay for it. So when you go to the zoo and pet a zebra, and you feel the African spirit,
there you go
through your body.
Don't do that, John. They're wild animals. They're not domesticated. And Africa is hard mode, and that shit will fuck you up.
And unfortunately, Mulby, I'd have to go back 100,000 years probably to connect with my African ancestors.
Hey, sir, that zebra, don't listen to Danny. We're American. It looks like a horse. It is a horse. So you will ride that zebra, John. Because we're American and we don't know no better.
The only problem that I feel like it would be is that if I put zebras in there, I might come off as too much of the stupid white American.
I feel
What
like
if you got the zombies riding them? I don't think so.
I think it's when you have a Chinese American during World War II, during which America was at war with Japan, wielding a Japanese sword in Asia, in Africa. You're already being properly American, not giving a fuck about any cultures, so you could lead into that.
Cultural appropriation over 9, man.
I don't think you should, but you could.
All right, Ray, do you have any ideas about how this story could be made better?
I only got one thing, like on as an artist perspective on it.
Yes,
I think like when you did the kaboom earlier, and then you did the kaboom later on, I think it kind of took away from the later one, like where you have the double page spread. I think you want to save that for that, like maybe make a different sound effect for it, because the impact of it on that double page spread would really, make it a lot more meaningful.
I pay Danny to fix those things.
Not now.
Other than that, though, I think it all flowed pretty good.
I have a feeling when I start this project, Danny's going to want to raise.
Yes. I had to write so much for the last one. Speaking of which, my obvious constructive is actually have people talk in panels in which they appear.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
And at least have people
I'll let you finish. Because I do have some thoughts and questions, but I'll let you finish first.
Because it's fine if there's overflow and you need to write around it. but actually having the dialogue in the panel, like if you assume all the dialogue will go appropriately where it belongs in a panel where the character is speaking, then you will have better art direction because you're going to make sure that there's headroom for all the dialogue and that the camera's not too zoomed in, or you don't have like a really strange shape where there's no room to put balloons without covering all the tits, or many other problems that you end up with in production. From a production perspective and from a writing perspective, you should assume that the artist will have the good sense to draw enough space to put all the balloons in the panel where they freaking belong. And I feel like having so much stuff happen out of panel and assume that readers are paying attention or that the art is going to make it work or whatever leads to worse results in the art from like a production management perspective. That I think that would help level up your game. I'm really serious.
Yeah. Well, all the notes.
There you go.
So I have two questions. And so the first part where you mentioned that Erin was speaking and she's not in the panel. So in page 10 is when she was having the conversation with Jezidro, and she basically said, in case you haven't noticed, there's a war going on. So then the pyramid explodes, or it gets hit. It doesn't explode yet. It just gets hit. And then the ship appears. So that's when Erin says, remember that war I was talking about? So that's kind of a callback to an earlier page. Do you think she needs to be in that panel? Because I kind of wanted the panel, because the ship is still kind of far away from them, and I didn't want the ship to be in the distance. I wanted it to be like a close up of the ship. It's here. Ta-da. So
you could have like the side of her face,
Close
maybe.
up. Hold on.
Like a close up on the side of her face, and then the explosion in the background.
Close up, forced perspective. As the spaceship explodes from the pyramid,
no, we're not that one yet. This is when the airship appears below the clouds.
Okay,
the airship is what's firing the mortars. All
right, fine. Extreme low angle, open bracket, panty shot, close bracket. Forced perspective. Erin and whoever it is, Long Fu, run away from the pyramid, and the camels and zebra in the background, while an airship shoots cannons at them. Just frame it through the people. Like,
okay,
yeah, that would work.
You can have better art direction because instead of it's an airship, you have fuck, it's an airship, because the people that we're supposed to care about are running away from it.
Okay, all right. I can see that. And then I guess my other question would be about the 2-page spread thingy.
Yes.
Because that obviously didn't translate or make sense to you guys. So it's obviously not going to.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I think he might have frozen.
Oh. Okay.
So let's give him a second.
All right.
Should I just do like a
there
one
you
page?
Go. Mm-hmm.
John, you froze.
Sorry. It's
All
my
right.
internet.
One page double page spread of all the action happening.
Yeah, make it your artist problem. Like, what's the main action in that spread? A bunch of mortars hit the pyramids?
That's when the pyramid has the nuclear explosion, and I wanted to show that, like, big.
Right. So,
and I wanted to show the reaction. And I want to show the impact of the explosion on.
Well, you could do that all in one panel, just the whole double page.
Oh, John, man, let me ask a quick question. Man.
Hold on a second.
Can one?
Oh, go on. Okay,
so
can Annie answer first, and then I'll listen to everybody else?
So, 2-page spread, a nuclear explosion blasts the pyramid to smithereens. The blast wave flings Erin and Long Fu into the air, along with a whole bunch of like sand and like rocks and shit, right? Bricks.
Right.
The mechs, the heavy mechs are unaffected by the pressure, and don't. So you have the characters flying again in danger because they're not in control of their actions. They're flying uncontrollably into the foreground
Like
or left to right. And then you just have them talk and you have all this other stuff happening or whatever. Like, I get that you want to show the mechs aren't affected, but I mean, again, this is a page about something cool is happening, so you need to show that. So that's like pretty much left-hand side, right?
Right.
And then the important part, it's affecting our main characters. So you show that, that's going to be in the foreground, right? So then you still have a midground and the entire right side of the page where you can show the mechs. Like the mechs continue advancing towards them or whatever, right?
Okay.
Or the mechs, you know, they put up their arms to shield themselves while our characters are blown back, like upside down over like head over heels. That still shows it. It's a bit cartoony, but it's a fucking comic book, dude. Like
I've pretty much shown that this is basically a cartoon.
I mean,
like,
yes, this is basically a cartoon. So lean into cartoony. Like, you know,
Okay.
they're blown head over heels by the giant explosion and the blast wave. There's all these bricks coming out. It's going to be some good 3D effects. Your illustrator gets to use their perspective tools, right? You're giving them a lot of cool stuff to work with, like a lot of foreground, background. They can obscure half it with dust, so it's not that tedious. And there's a whole bunch of mechs coming out, like fucking Terminator out of the fog. I don't see how that'll look bad if your artist gives any fucks. But also, again, the focus is on, oh, our characters thought it was bad. Now it's really bad. So that's still the story that your art's got to tell.
Okay.
But also, like, I don't know how you're dividing the right-hand side the way you directed that. So, like,
Yeah.
this is also a situation of don't confuse the artist, just give them the whole canvas and tell them, like, all the things that need to be there and make it their problem to figure out how to do it neatly.
Yeah, I do have issues where I need to remind him where the gutter is because he likes to put stuff straight down the middle. Like the issue 4 2-page spread, he had Temperance, who's like the main character doing shit right down the middle, and I'm like, dude, you got to move her
Does
to
he
the
not
side.
have a template for
Jesus?
No, he did the sketch, and he did, but when he did the pencil work,
the template and show him that it wasn't going to work.
No, that's what I had to do. Yeah, I put it on a when he sent me the sketch, and I put it on a template with like because you know how this on the Illustrator sheet I do the guides for the 2-page spreads.
Yeah.
I basically put his sketch on that page and sent it back to him, and I said, "Dude, this doesn't work. Move her to the left."
So wait, is your pencil artist using like physical media?
He is drawing by hand, and then he does. I believe pencils are by hand, and then inks are digital.
So he's inking it.
Yes, he's.
So you just send him a Kablam template and say, you need to fix this for the gutters and for the borders. Use this template. Don't put anything in the red. And then Kablam has a template for 2-page spreads too. And he can just put that as like, you know, a 60% opacity layer at the bottom of his whatever, and then just hide it later. Like, fine, it fucks up the pencils, but then just move the art over by like, you know, a couple inches and draw the other like side of the whatever. If he's so incompetent he can't draw the rest of a pyramid, then that's on him.
He shouldn't be putting anything important in the middle anyway.
No, it's just one of those things that I've noticed from working with him that I have to stay on top of.
Yeah, no, like this is one of the reasons I mentioned the dialogue thing the way I did is like you actually had a moment in this script where having dialogue come from off panel actually worked. And it was when Aaron has the line Jezidrow on like panel 3 of some page or whatever.
Right.
That actually worked. But from a production perspective, like you got to stay on top of this. You got to stay on the art direction. You got to make sure that panels aren't all stupid shapes for no reason. You have so much else to consider that forcing your artist to do it from the beginning solves some of these problems before they become your problem. Because I suspect what's happening with production, and I'm being super meta here, guys. I'm sorry to everyone. Is there's a degree to which you've given so many notes, and then the results of being so unimpressive, you kind of probably give up. And I've had that problem with art too, where it's like, okay, but can we just make it not suck? And like, there's so many things, and you just need to like go like item by item for a single panel or whatever. and then shit doesn't get done with what you get back, and then you're like, fuck it, I don't want to deal with it, right? That happens when we're dealing with like inexpensive artists or poor communication or bad tools. Like I had an artist I worked with who just didn't use fucking like perspective tools. And I mean, those are all you need is a T-square and a freaking 45-degree angle ruler for that, right? And
well, they should know that stuff if they're taking on the role of comic artist.
We're not even starting with that, right? I agree with you 100%. That's not the point. But like, yeah, so like something as basic as using like a couple of guidelines for perspective just don't happen. And all of a sudden the entire page is ruined. And at a certain point you're like, it'll do, because you don't want to fight over it anymore because it's clearly not going to happen. I totally get it. If you say, hey, artist, this is what has to happen in the panel, and then you just say, this didn't happen according to the script, I need a panel with all of these things, then, and that includes the word balloons, then that means that you're naturally going to have slightly better storytelling, slightly better composition, a lot less weird Dutch angle torture, so many fewer 25-degree angles on your panels for no reason. Like, there was a lot of that in the last book I lettered for you, right?
I don't even know what that is.
Right? It was, and it's just, this is a weird shape to have a panty shot, but then you cut off the character's head, and suddenly it's basically like a headless real doll, and then they've like essentially decapitated your protagonist, and that person's speaking in that. Like, you know, if all the speakers have to be there, like that's the most basic thing you should be able to do as a cartoonist.
You know, let me interject for a second here, but
I'm done.
The way I when I submit my work to a writer, I kind of leave it in steps for them. Excuse me. So I'll give them the roughs, the thumbnails, and then from there I'll go to pencils, and then I wait till I get the approval on each one. I mean, I don't think it's too much to ask an artist to do that. You know, so here's your roughs. Okay, those are good. Here's your pencils. All right, those okay. And then your inks is the final. Do you need any corrections is what they should be asking. This is just the way I do it, because I think this is the way, you know, you're not going to get bitching at the end or somebody that's upset. It's like, okay, no, I'd actually like you to correct that. And you should never be shy to ask that.
Yes, Moby, I have your script. It's kind of prose. I have your prose. And we can go over some Moby prose.
Yeah, I'm good to move on, but like I'm going to say, like I just reviewed the thumbs for the new issue of Palace of the Golden Princess, and Preston will tell you most of my notes were make more headroom for the dialogue.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good to ask that. That's why they're being submitted, right?
Before you've done the detailed art, and then the pencils. One of the key features of pencils is you can erase shit. So that's when your final notes are happening, and ink should just be like, okay, let's lock it down.
That's basically what I'm getting at. Yeah.
And that's how production should work. And so the more like if you got your illustrator knowing that they have to put the balloons for all the speaking characters on the thumbs at least, then you know it's going to solve a ton of problems.
Yeah, it should be submitted in stages.
Yeah,
is what I'm getting at. And that way it resolves issues further down the road where you go, actually, I don't like that. And it's like, well, fuck, I already did all the inks.
Well, he is doing it. He does do it in stages. It's just that there are things that I'm not noticing, apparently, that what I need to do is I need to actually give Danny a raise and have him start looking at things before they go to pencil.
Well, take a day to look it over. Like, so look it over when you get it, and then, you know, kind of go back on it. Like, I mean, you should give yourself a day to look over the work that's submitted to you so that you know, okay, just in case you kind of think something later on.
Or you're saying fresh eyes, you know.
Instead of just going at it right off the gate and going, okay, yeah, that's good.
You're too locked in. Like you're so in the zone, you won't be able to see anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so one thing I do with my scripts when we're in production is like, I'm actually editing the dialogue at the thumb stage. So if I like the thumbs, cool. I double check for the dialogue. Should I move stuff around or change it? I'll send that back too if there's any changes. And then we're penciling still with like roughly the layouts that we've determined in the thumb stage, because thumbs should be easy for anyone to produce a ton of. And that's when I edit my scripts. And then again, when we're in like hard pencils, right? Like detailed pencils or inks, is just go review the script. Is it still working? Should I move stuff around? Can I cut some lines here? Can I add some lines here? Should I move this around so it balances better on the page and moves the eye through better? Like I'm doing that at the pencil stage. And if I'm not doing that at the pencil stage, I'm going to hope I'm lettering that project, because I'm the one who's going to have to deal with it when I got finals. So,
yo, Danny, I couldn't help it, man. I just got to say
All
that.
right, well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. We can
and also, even without this whole like paying more thing, like next time you got some like thumbs or whatever, toss me a few pages of thumbs. I'll walk through the script with you on like a screen share or whatever, and show you what I'm doing when I'm doing it. Maybe that'll help. Like I'm happy to show you what I'm doing. That's
when I am ready. Like Angel Darkness, Fear of the Dragon is already, pencils and inks are done. I'm just waiting on colors. But when I'm ready to start this project, before I send it, or when I'm ready to start on this, we'll chat and we'll figure out what we want to do.
Absolutely. I'm down.
Yeah.
Like I'm totally happy. Even if you don't like anything I do, seeing how anyone else does it will still help you level up. The cheapest
what I kind of feel like, and we'll see how we can make it work, is I kind of feel like I'd like you to also show the illustrator the kinds of things that you're noticing, so that he's aware of it.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
That'll be. We'll figure that out.
Hold on. I just gotta say one note quick.
All right, Moby.
For me, the only thing I think you were missing is it was a little too clean. Like because of all the explosions and things happening, maybe like a character on their knees or something where it shows they're in a position of discomfort because everything's happening. You know, they're not prepared. So maybe somebody's falling or something, you know, like a little, or they're leaning up against something to brace themselves. It's a little hint of like, you know, it's a little messy, but Danny, man, I had to get this out of my system. I think you pour syrup.
Drinking maple syrup?
I don't know.
No, Danny, I was about to say you pour syrup on the thumbnails and then you see the best version.
Yes, that's my process, John.
Okay,
now you know the secret sauce.
The Canadian secret.
Ray knows it too. It's how we Canadians.
Does Canada export maple syrup to Brazil?
We drink a gallon of it first.
There you go.
And then we go on horrifying psychedelic journeys through the sky.
Yes.
I still think the great
I'll
maple
need you
syrup
to export a crate to Brazil for my
common.
illustrator.
Oh yeah, I remember you brought that up. That ice, man.
All right, Molby. So this is an example of your prose, I take it, right? We're reading here.
It looks like a novel.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's a novel, man. You switched it up a little.
Okay.
I'm going that route. It's a western.
Okay.
Working on it for a
How
while.
do we deal with prose in this?
I don't know. I don't know that we typically do.
Why
But
don't we switch off on paragraphs?
okay, sure. All right.
Apparently, it's a western.
Yeah.
We couldn't tell from the title. To Survive the West.
To Survive.
Hey,
This must be the sequel to Survive the West.
You respect me, sir.
To Survive to West.
Yeah. I'm reminded of
to the West.
Yeah.
So, Molby, are you going to put the fucking
West,
maple
to
syrup
survive.
down and take some notes?
All right.
I'm doing it, man.
Okay.
All right. I'll start because that was bitchy.
Go for it.
Leighton Crawford sat under the stars, a bottle of whiskey in hand as he remembered the day that had changed his life forever. Over 10 years ago, Leighton Crawford was a normal single child of the Old West, living on his parents' ranch and tending to the crops with his mother. I'm pretty sure ranches have horses, dude. Farms have crops. He spent his days herding goats. Goats, not ghosts. Okay. Herding goats with his trusty dog, a big fluffy golden retriever who was always full of affection and love for Leighton. At night, his father, Wallen Crawford, a tall, broad-shouldered black man with well-kept hair and a smile that could turn a frown upside down, who was as charming as he was tough, would head into town to the saloon.
Oh, first I got to say this is better than I think a lot of verbiage I've seen from Molby. So maybe it's the AI, maybe you're developing as a writer, but like this, it's it's better, right?
I mean, an AI wouldn't name characters that badly.
Gotta give them different names, man. Jack, Bobby.
On this particular morning, Leighton's father had given him. But why is it Leighton? Why is? Can you tell?
Because Molby doesn't like spelling.
I needed a different name, man.
No, you don't need a different name. L-A-Y-T-O-N.
Come on, man.
No,
John,
you
Bobby,
can just call him Larry. It's fine if you call him Larry.
John, Bobby, they've been taken, man.
I'm going to say this once.
Okay.
Molby, when we read your comic scripts, the only people you're torturing is us. If you expect someone to read this fucking novel with spelling like that, the people you are torturing are the people who are giving you their money, and that is cruel. Please don't do that.
On this particular morning, go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing is I don't know what time and place this takes place, but assuming that this is American West,
Old West, 1880s kind of stuff,
then.
Should maybe put that in at the beginning.
There were African Americans during this time.
Sure.
But a lot of them would have like Christian names.
Sure.
So I don't know if I think if you're going for something that's maybe a little bit more traditional or African, I get that. But I also kind of feel like they'd be that would be unusual for the time.
Well,
because Molby does realism.
I know he's writing his story takes place in the same place as my universe does, where I basically take history and throw it out. And
John's remaking Hiroshima.
Right,
man. I'm sorry.
We're interrupting Preston.
Yep, I'm sorry.
On this particular morning, Leighton's father had given him the task of reinforcing the chicken coop to keep the foxes out. As he prepared to head into town, Wallen Crawford gave his wife, Sunny Crawford, a beautiful woman whose figure was as curvaceous as her soul was peaceful. It's hard to find those women. A tight embrace and stared deeply into her eyes. You're the reason all those harlots in town can't feel the touch of a good man, he told her, running his hand through her hair and kissing her tightly. Now make sure you have supper ready when I get back, because I ain't hard in the sack without a meal to blow out your backside. There you go. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, formatting note will be lines of dialogue should all start their own paragraph.
Yeah. You should be putting in carriage returns here. Boom.
Sunny giggled and ran towards the house as her husband headed towards the saloon. When he arrived, he found a group of rough-looking men, faces scared with a lifetime of pain, yet dangerous enough to instill fear into the heartfelt souls gambling against him. As the game progressed, the tension in the room grew thicker, and it was clear that the rough men were not looking to take their loss lightly.
The leader of the rough men stood up, far calmer than the rest of the men following him, yet his face was serious as a storm. "You sure look like you have a winning hand, partner," he said. "But dealing with me, a winning hand could be the very hand that signs over your peace of mind in this life." The leader of the rough men placed his cards on the table, but to the surprise of everyone in the room, Waylon had the winning hand. "Ain't no win, just greatness," Wallen declared, a broad grin spreading on his face. And also, new character talking needs to be a new paragraph as well.
Yeah.
The leader of the rough men,
Mhm.
however, seemed to find a sickening sense of joy in his face, yet he was not pleased. "Best out of 5, he said, his eyes narrowed. But Wallen was done with this game. "I've had my fill of games for today," he replied, standing up from the table.
The leader of the rough men stood up as well, glowering at Waylon. "You sure about that?" he said. "Losing ain't something I can just wake up the next day and move on from without having a reason to repent." Wallen shrugged. "Well, there's a church not far from here," he said. You can repent all you want, but I just want what I'm owed."
Cool. Where are we?
Right there at the top.
Oh,
By the way,
the
Willie,
leader
I
of the
think
rough men.
at some point you might actually want to give him a name. Maybe Bob, the leader of the rough men.
Well, I mean, if all the names have to be really outlandish, naming people's really hard.
Maybe.
The leader of the rough men snapped his fingers, and the two of his rough men behind him pulled out a wad of cash and placed it in Wallen's hand. But the leader of the rough men stood up to leave. He passed Wallen a blood-soaked dollar, causing a disturbed murmur and a ripple through the crowd. Wallen simply looked deeply at the red-blooded dollar on the floor briefly and exclaimed it for a moment before stepping away. "These out-of-towners just got closer and closer to the devil when they lose," he said calmly before turning and walking to the saloon.
Layton was tending to the goats on his family's ranch, with his loyal companion of a dog following closely behind him when he noticed something off in the distance. Out of the corner of his eye, he could see many men on horseback galloping toward them at an alarming speed, torches in hand and shouting out rather aggressively. Wait, was it dark? Why do they need torches?
Yeah, it's morning.
Then, yeah, they wouldn't need torches.
I know they wouldn't need torches, but I mean,
startled by this sudden sight,
Yeah.
Startled by the sudden sight, Layton turned and ran as fast as he could back to the house that was located behind their ranch. But unfortunately for him, these rough men caught up to him quickly. They circled around Latte, stood there in despair, staring back at them, still attempting to make a run for it, despite the futility of it all, while his brave dog barked fiercely in defiance.
The scene was filled with tension and fear. What felt like hours passed by slowly as Layton waited for whatever fate had been planned for him. He could feel sweat trickling down his forehead and the taste of dirt lingering inside his mouth from being forced onto the ground. The sky held back any sign of rain or storm. Instead, it simply watched without emotion,
Damn sky.
allowing these wicked men to continue. Late and helplessly he cried while he shook with rage and fear as he stood on the rugged land. Sorry, there was no period, so I just figured this kept going.
All right, fair
On the
enough.
rugged land below him, blood seeped from various cuts obtained when trying to escape, but pain meant nothing right now. Only one thing mattered. Getting to his mother, the rough man pulled out his revolver and took a shot at the dog, who had bravely stepped in front of Layton in an attempt to protect him from what seemed to be inevitable doom.
Ray, you want to read this one?
As the bullets flew through the air, Layton could feel the warmth grazing past his skin before hitting their mark, the dog's body collapsing into the lifeless heap on the ground. Blood spattered everywhere.
What?
What?
You killed the dog, you bastard.
He did, yeah.
Apparently shot at the dog, being specific.
Blood splattered everywhere, some of it soaking into Layton's clothing, and he screamed as tears kept streaming down his face. He held tightly onto his body, the loyal companion, until it became cold and stiff, feeling like as he was about to lose consciousness. With each passing second, his heart filled with rage and despair as he stared at the man with hatred. But all he could do was sit there in silence, knowing that no amount of shouting and cursing would bring back what he had lost now.
Then rough men on horseback had grabbed Leighton and were now riding away with him towards the field of crops.
Oh, snap.
One of them was holding Leighton by the back of the neck, while the others followed closely behind. As they arrived at their destination, the man who held Leighton let go of him and pointed toward tall stalks of golden wheat that grew around them.
They grow
Look
goats. Sorry, I'm done.
Just look at it, he said with a twisted voice as he tossed a burning torch into the middle of the field. His words echoed in Leighton's ears like a presentiment of doom as he watched helplessly as one by one each stalk began to burn in a reddish blaze.
The man then rode his horse close to the burning crops and held a crying Leighton over the flames,
Oh no!
whispering to him in an evil tone.
He must be
"This
really
is just to
strong.
warm you up for what's about to come."
Oh snap!
The once green field of crops was now filled with fiery reminders of just how easy hell engulfs what was once a sign of life. Every little spark seemed like another reminder that everything could be taken away in an instant, leaving nothing but ashes behind. Ellipsis.
A rough man. Oh, you going, Preston?
No, your turn.
A rough man still had a firm grip on Leighton as he rode back to the house. As they approached, Leighton could see his mother, Sunny, held by two of the rough men as she screamed for them to let her boy live. The leader of the gang spoke with a cold and menacing tone, uttered from his lips, "Let him watch until the end. Torture befitting of a bastard. That's all he deserves." His mother's response was, I'm losing it, was immediate and sudden as she spat forcefully in the face and raised her hand to slap him. But before she could make contact with the man holding Leighton had arrived, the leader mentioned for them to tie Leighton so that he could watch the show. Torture befitting of a bastard, according to him.
Moby does some of the best torture scenes.
Yes, and apparently we're going to get a rape scene too.
Oh, there we go.
No, thank you.
The men did
Oh,
not
God.
hesitate. They immediately grabbed Sunny and ripped off her clothing right in front of Leighton. She fought against them with every ounce of strength she had left, screaming out for help as they dragged her into the bedroom, kicking and screaming. Inside the room, they held Sunny down while the leader proceeded to rape her in front of her son. When it was
The
finished,
story
he
got
shouted to her,
dark as
"Now,
fuck here on page 5. Jesus Christ.
now you know what happens when someone defies me." He then spat on her face, then proceeded to urinate on top of her humiliated body before giving orders to his men. You know what? I much prefer vagina gun
There we
I
go.
also prefer the vagina gun.
over his men to tie both arms and legs firmly into 4 different horses before sending them off in 4 separate directions at full gallop.
Quartered. All right.
Wow. Damn.
Rough.
That got
Rough.
dark really
That got
fast.
dark fast.
Those rough men, damn them.
Yeah.
All right. Leighton watched helplessly as his beloved mother was torn in 2. No, would that be 4? If you're quartered, it's 4.
Yeah, it should be torn into 4. She would.
Limbs first, followed by decapitation. Oh, that's 5. That seemed painfully slow.
Unless there's a horse pull in the head, then it's really only 4.
I mean, like, is there even any point? Like, I don't think
Yeah.
he survived
I
being
gotta
torn.
add that.
He cried out for help again, but no one came. Only after being made an example of did the despicable creatures leave him be, allowing him one last glance at what used to be his mother before shooting him point blank in the back with ropes tied around his wrists from mouth behind as he ran toward her once more. That is how these wicked men left, riding off into the house-filled sunset. Smoke-filled sunset.
Okay, so we have a story about surviving the West presented in prose. And as I mentioned at the start, like, you know, I feel like your craft of writing is showing improvement, and I've said that a number of times, and each time, you know, it's getting better. So congratulations. We have a Western story with Leighton, I believe our African American hero, who rides into
He's
town.
dead. He got shot in the back of his head.
Did he?
That just happened in the last paragraph.
The last paragraph. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So we have our the tragedy, the tragedy of Leighton, which, in my opinion, I'm beginning to question the title, like To Survive in the West, but he didn't survive. No one survived the story To Survive in the West.
The bad guy survived.
The bad guys survived. Yes. But we have Leighton. He loves his wife.
No, Leighton's the kid.
Oh, Leighton's
it was
the kid?
his mom. He got raped and quartered and then beheaded. And then when they were leaving, he got up to run after her to nurse something with her body.
Who's the guy who went into town and played poker?
That was
not Leighton.
Leighton's father.
Oh.
Who apparently beat these guys at poker. But somehow they got back to his house before he did.
And did bad things. Okay.
We're not doing constructives quite yet, John.
Yeah. All right.
No, I'm simply summarizing the story.
And I'm gonna suggest, Mulby, that the fact that every attempt to summarize the story is talking about a plot hole is not a good sign.
Yeah, edit that. Yeah.
All right. So it's then. Are we setting up like a revenge story, like with the father of the house,
Django Unchained?
Yeah, Django Unchained.
No. John's wife.
I mean, like, doesn't the dad? What's the dad's name?
Melvin.
Melvin. His name's Melvin.
Wallen.
Okay, so won't Wallen seek revenge when he discovers what's happened?
Well, this chapter 1, man. It is, it seems,
All right. Okay. All right. So, well, we have what seems to be a Wallen revenge story, and it gets pretty dark there towards the end. So certainly motivates a lot of revenge. All right, John.
Thank you, John. That's my
you killed
inspiration.
the dog, you killed the wife, you killed the kid,
raped the wife.
Did anybody survive?
This was very successfully a sequence of dramatic looking scenes.
Yes.
Thank you, Danny, for summing it up so nicely.
Yes.
Does anyone else have any nice things to say?
I like it when stories involve poker. That's always cool. Ray, you got anything?
I did a Western not long ago.
There you go.
And it was similar to this. It was a sad story about a guy recollecting his thoughts in an old folks home.
Sure.
And it had a dramatic ending to it as well, where he thought he was lucky, right? And but I like the flow and I like the premises of the story. Like it I don't know if you needed to add in all the graphic content. I think maybe you could hint it sort of. But I guess if you're writing a novel, you would include it. But if it was a comic work, I don't think you'd need to add it all in. But I did like how it went real well. Like it all kind of flowed all together with the revenge story that's setting up for it all. So yeah, it was cool.
Well, we hope it's going to be a revenge story. I mean, he could just go off to Tibet and learn to be a monk and live in peace and harmony with the universe or something because of this.
This is a short story, and this is all of it.
No. It's chapter 1, man. It's a full blown. I'm taking your notes. The ranch part. That was solid. You said,
all right.
Farm is not a ranch.
I think we could have added to the setting a little bit more too. Maybe if it was day or night, and then when the old man went into town, was he playing poker at night with the boys, and then then they came out after they lost the game or whatever, like what time was it then? And a little bit more setting set up, I think, would have helped. Because it's like when we said it was morning and then they were burning torches, and there was a few things that kind of didn't work, but you could all fix that easily.
All right. Constructives. All right. I guess I'll start. Sometimes I feel like characters could benefit from names. Like, I would like to, I would like to know who the leader of the rough men is. Like
especially if he's going to be our main antagonist.
Antagonist, yeah. So I guess I would say like your story lacks broadly characterization. Like we need like the rough men are a blob. You don't not only do you not give them names, you don't. It's not even like the fat one or the bald one or whatever. They're just like NPCs. And since you're presenting the world, it's not like artists is drawn and we can make interpretations. Like you, if you just present us with NPCs in the story who are nameless, then that's all we get. And I'm not traditionally a prose writer, but those who are will typically tell you that providing rememberable characters, rememberable villains who have personal details and foibles and little quirks are important parts of characterization that these pages are kind of ignoring. So I'd encourage you to do a bit of characterization. Yeah, in terms of your grammar's getting better, but they're right. You need carriage returns on your dialogue. Kind of separate those out as separate paragraphs. Let's see. Being a poker player, I found it strange that like the rough men seem to operate as like a community, in that like if the leader loses the hand, bad guys have to bring money to pay it. Like usually the money's right there in front and it's right there in the middle. And poker is a time of individuality, of individual actions and consequences, as opposed to kind of this collective approach the rough men are doing it. Also, I would like some acknowledgement of what the game is, like some specifics. Like, we doing 5-card draw? Why did that guy raise so much? What's the dispute over the hand? As opposed to, well, Waylon or whatever his name is won because that's what the story says, and the story got dark as fuck there at the end. I don't know if we need the urination after the but whatever. I mean, that's just whatever. It's just maybe the urination had something to think of it. All right, John, go ahead.
So my first original thought, back when I thought Layton was going to be the main character, the story opened up and it kind of felt like Layton was reminiscing about a time when he was a child. So my first initial comment was going to be that this should mix some first person perspectives in with the story, because if he was the main character and he was reminiscing when he was a child and something happened with his parents, then he could say, I was on the grass, and you write it from his perspective. And, I remember that the air smelt weird this day, because that's one thing you can do in novels, is you can hit all those senses. And then and then my favorite dog came up, but the dog doesn't even get a name, the poor pooch. Give the dog a name so that we feel the relationship between Layton and the dog. And like Preston said, the poker game, that whole thing can be drawn out more. Give us some tension in the game. Who's going to win? How close is he going to win? What are the stakes? And not just the money on the table stakes, but what are the real world stakes to these characters? What happens if Waylon loses? What does he lose if he loses? What does he gain if he wins? What does our unnamed antagonist gain or lose if he wins? Like, none of that we really get. It's just like, I'm a sword loser, so I'm gonna go hunt down your wife and rape and kill her and your son, and for no damn reason except I'm a sore loser. Like, that doesn't really play. And then yeah, like the and then in the final scene when they show up, there's a lot of staging and blocking that's all confusing, because 1 second Layton's running and then the next thing his face is in the dirt, but then he's standing up. So, and I don't understand how he went from running to face down. Well, he was running, then he was surrounded, then he's face down, then he's standing. But nobody ever said, was he thrown down? Was he in a fight? Nobody said any of that. Then he's running again, and the guy picks him up by the back of the neck, and he's basically holding him by one hand over a burning field. Like, I mean, he obviously didn't skip bicep day. And then they're back at the house. It was very confusing in all of that. As someone who's very visual, when I read things, I try to visualize what things look like, and it was really hard to follow visually. And then, as I think Preston and Ray both said, it did get really, really dark. I don't really feel like you need to get that dramatic. I mean, especially if you're going to kill the kid. So if it was from the kid's perspective and he witnessed this thing, then there's a reason to maybe show it a little bit more graphically, because the kid is remembering this, or he's Leighton is the one telling us the story. But as far as we know, Leighton and the mom are dead, so we don't know who's telling this story. It's the omniscient storyteller. So all we would really need is they drag her into the back of the room, we hear screams, and then our main character, Waylon, who's I guess is our main character, should return home and find his house on fire. Like, that's all we need to know. You know, we can pick up the little details afterward. If they drag inside, we hear screams, and that's basically what you would do in a movie or in a comic book, unless you're making an X-rated movie or comic book. They typically go in, they go off camera, we hear some things that imply what we're doing, and then we, cut forward like 30 minutes and something big is going on. So I would lean into that a little bit, because that would also shift our focus immediately back to who our main character is, because this entire time the story is kind of like from Leighton's perspective, and then to have him get shot in the head in the back at the end just kind of makes no sense. And not in the good, not making any sense like Moby usually brings to the table, because your Gonzo not making sense is awesome and we love that, but this not making sense just doesn't work in a drama.
I got shared. Next week I got to work on it. I'm taking all these notes. You know what I'm saying? But, that's chapter 1. It ain't what it seems. But, I'm going to work on the notes.
Okay. I've got a note. Have you considered actually writing something yourself instead of having an AI do it for you?
I wrote it, man. I edited it.
It starts off with a description of a goat ranch that turns into a farm field with a wheat field.
I was writing it.
Okay. Every single scene and every single sentence was uncharacteristically grammatically correct. Moreover, nothing in this was original. Yeah. Everyone, you just wasted 40 minutes of everyone's time, and everyone gave you very good notes.
You're being very harsh.
Okay. Everyone, Ray, Preston, and John just gave you very good notes under the assumption that you wrote any of this, except I know you didn't. What does pre-sentiment mean, Molby?
No, it's supposed to be resentment.
What does pre-sentiment mean, Molby?
Be resentment.
No, it means it means a premonition or a feeling of foreboding. The AI used it correctly. And you know why I can tell that word is characteristic of AI? Because it was most commonly used in mid-19th century novels. And that stuff's all public domain and easily scrapable by a machine. You have very silly, insane details. You have a character walking into an empty bar and then ending a poker game when there's a crowd watching. You have, again, the goats turn into wheat, and then wheat's really tall. A man on a horse could not hold a boy above fully grown, healthy wheat. That's utterly insane. This is not character. No one has names. Stuff just happens. You have a bunch of scenes that you probably told the AI to write, all of which are independent paragraphs, which nearly look like they're holding together, up until you realize that no human being would do anything. Yeah, you should absolutely do what John said and have a first-person perspective. An AI can't do that. An AI can't think like a person. It just puts words together that kind of work. And that's what you've given us. It's a whole bunch of stuff that looks like words together, and none of it's actually a story about anyone who wants to do anything. Stuff just happens. And stuff just happens in a way where clearly there's no attention paid to continuity of action or setting or time. I mean, you had someone drawn and quartered and then their head pops off when there wasn't a rope attached to their head. That it's a human body, not a Ken doll. That's not how that works. You've done no research into anything, and you're expecting us to take this seriously? Like, I feel really insulted.
I wrote it, man. I edited it with the Pro Writer's Aid, some of the AI to edit some stuff, but I wrote it. It was all written. I agree with John. I gotta put the perspective of the person.
I mean,
but
everything everyone told you is really good notes, but you're not going to get any better at anything, including knowing what a story looks like, knowing how a story reads, or knowing how to tell a story if you don't actually read any
if you want to know what it's like out on a farm, go out to one.
Yeah, you need
if you can
research. You need to read
I'm quite familiar. I live in Saskatchewan, so I mean, there's farms all around me. I know how it looks.
Do goats and wheat use the same kind of fields, Ray?
No, goats are in grass fields. Yeah, no, because they eat every damn thing. There's like nothing around them. It's just grass and dirt.
If you can farm the land, you don't put a ranch on it. You farm it.
Yeah.
Unless you're in Southern California. I dated a girl before she came out, and she was living in she had a desert farm where she was raising goats, and it was kind of interesting. But yes, they do eat anything. So even that grass, that whatever you call grass that grows in the desert in California, yeah,
they eat it. They eat everything.
Yeah, no, like the desert West, a great place to have ranches is kind of a terrible place to have farms, which is why people
you wouldn't have a goat on a farm.
No,
it would be on a ranch with
wild near your
grass, unless you'd have them fenced off or something.
My point with all these logical inconsistencies, and I mean, just go look at the stupid scene with the dollar bill that just comes out of who has a soaking wet, blood-soaked dollar bill hanging out in their pocket for no reason? Where did the crowd come from?
The leader dropped this bloody dollar bill to let people know he's serious. He's a killer.
So he just walks around, spends hours playing poker with a blood-soaked dollar bill in his pocket.
He's a killer, man.
Also, why
blood doesn't stay wet that long?
Yeah, it wouldn't, because no one thought it through. It was written by an AI.
It'd be a blood-stained dollar bill.
First thing in the morning to the bar instead of working at his goddamn farm.
I mean, that's another good point. Like, I mean, if he was a caring father, why is he going to the bar? It'd be kind of hard to make him the hero out in the end if he's going to the bar to play poker.
You need to read
Cowboys days, man.
I'm going to keep saying this. If you want to get better at writing things, you need to be reading things, and you need to be actually editing your own work. And the more you try and take stupid shortcuts by having AI do all of your work for you, the more you're going to keep on producing crap like this. It's never going to improve. And the worst thing about all this, John's 100% right here, is this: the way this is stupid isn't even as good as the way you're normally stupid, which we like.
No, I think they got a point there. Like, I mean, you could just don't worry about the AI to correct your mistakes. Just write and then bring forward whatever you got, and we'll go over it. And I think it's a better learning experience, learning from your mistakes than having AI make the mistakes for you.
You just asked 4 live human beings to critique the work of a machine that cannot tell a story to save its life because it's not a thinking creature. And that is deeply unfair to us in our time and very disrespectful.
Oh, I wrote it, man. It took me. I'm at it. I got edited.
Fair enough.
I think you wrote it. I think the editing might have messed it up.
I absolutely agree that every single scene is a thing that Mulby gave an AI.
Well, man, it wouldn't write a man get decapitated. And then the other thing is, you gotta understand, if the characters never introduce themselves, then how you gonna know their name?
You have a third-person omniscient narrator, Molby. You would know that if you read books.
I think if you gave the outlaw a name, and maybe he's like a wanted man or something, like, oh, he's a wanted man, and the grandpa was forced into, or the father was forced into a poker match with him. It added a little bit more dramatic tension to it, and then maybe you could have him, he beats him with some kind of hand, and then.
Well, that I'm interrupt you. That I don't play
Just
poker.
like Preston was and John were saying, the backstory to it all, I think would have helped accentuate what we were trying to get at there.
Well, Preston knows how to play the poker thing. I'm taking it from what I know.
Why don't you, Molby? You're the writer.
I don't play cards.
Learn how to play cards so you can tell the story, or don't put in the story. Make it decision.
Yeah, I mean, you could fake it, learn what the hands are.
The only person responsible for what goes in there, and if you don't have the time to Google how poker works,
watch a YouTube video.
Yeah,
watch a YouTube video and just write down, take a couple notes on what they're saying, what kind of moves they're making, what the names of hands are.
And also, because I am a poker player, you can come and ask me questions, and I can.
That too, you can ask the professional poker player in this live stream. Hey, I need some advice on how to write a compelling poker scene.
Yeah.
Don't worry, man. I got shit on last week.
Man, I'm listening.
Molby, I genuinely have the feeling, and this is actually criticism, that you've written more books than you've read.
Yeah, that's accurate. Dude, I don't. I've read articles.
You need to read
magazines.
Yeah, you do. I was gonna say that you need to read books. Yeah.
If you don't read, you're not going to be good at writing, because you're not going to know what good writing looks like.
Yeah. And
this is a constant critique that I've given you, because it's really obvious that you just don't care. And never mind this. Like, go read something and actually bother to improve your craft and actually do the work. Getting better at a skill is work, Molby, and you need to do it. And it's hard and it sucks. And we're all here trying to improve, and we want you to improve because you have great ideas. But if you're like, you have to actually do work to get good at something.
Yep. Just like art. You have to do it every day to get better at it.
Well, man, that's what I've been doing. I got to edit it. Because, you know what I mean? Like I said, a machine would not write the decapitation and certain things like that. You know, that's not even legal. They wouldn't even let you do that. You know what I mean? I got to fix a lot of the perspectives, but the poker game, I don't play poker. That's why the scene is quick.
Yeah. So, why are you writing a scene about something you don't know anything about?
So we don't. Yeah, who here's an elf? Who's a wizard? Who's a, you know, it's all.
Well, sure. Look, when you're writing, I don't want to go back and forth on this, but when you're writing like a fantasy thing, you get to create it, and no one can say you're wrong. Like if you're writing a sci-fi thing, and you're like, there are clouds on, and you know, it used to happen all the time. Like there are, you know, like if you go back and read John Carter, like Mars is portrayed. Yeah, like Mars is portrayed as very much like Earth, and you know, well, logically it's not. But you can still go, well, this is my version of sci-fi. I don't care. But
when you're starting to write a historical drama, everybody's going to pick it apart.
Yeah,
right. And again, this is one of the reasons why I did a rewrite / redirection with my story, is because when I was trying to do sci-fi and I was studying nuclear physics, I'm like, this is hard, so I'm going to I'm scrapping nuclear physics and I'm making up a magical space rock that can do whatever the F I need it to. So now I have magic space rock, and I don't care if the physics don't work. It's magic space rock. And I can focus on telling the story that I want to tell without getting caught up in, is my science correct? Because I don't have the time or the intelligence, quite frankly, because it's really, really hard. Physics is hard. And I just don't have the time or really the energy or the motivation to really study a subject field like this for background in a story.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
the best part of
again
it-
leaning into what Preston was saying. When you're doing fantasy, nobody can tell you that it's wrong. So when I say Magic Space Rock can do X, nobody can tell me, well, it can't do that, because it's like, well, it's Magic Space Rock. It can do whatever the hell I want it to.
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
yeah, but you know, another
that's how it
thing,
works. We're trying to
following
suspend
a-
your disbelief in the fiction you're creating. When John says John specifically says in the book I just lettered, here's a Magic Space Rock, it can do this. It's believable because we have to trust him. We're reading with a hermeneutic of trust here because he's establishing something before driving it through. You just have a bunch of stuff. You establish a goat ranch and turn it into a wheat farm. We can't trust you as the writer or as the narrator in this story. Assuming that you wrote it, which I very much did.
I wrote it, man.
All right.
But you know, I'll say this: there's a couple templates you follow, man. There's like
You're looking for shortcuts. Just read a book and then write a book kind of like it.
I do want to
Or
say
as
that
Ray said, go to a farm, because I know
sure.
I know in my me as like late Gen X, early millennial. You know, I grew up in a suburb, never really spent a whole lot of time on a farm. I don't know what farming is like.
Yeah.
If I wanted to write a story that takes place on a farm, I need to actually go visit a farm. I need to talk to people that actually do it. And I know you're in the generation below me and probably have never been to a farm either. So as Ray suggested, if you want to write a story on a farm,
if you can't go out to a farm and talk to some farmers and you'll hear how much they complain and
volunteer to take care of the farm animals for a weekend.
Well, no, dude, I grew up in a farm, man.
Yeah, you're
again.
Well, you know, it kind of goes back to write what you're familiar with, right?
Sure.
I mean, if you're familiar with farming, well, then you know it should come to you naturally, like what you're writing. It should be.
There's a good example. If you're familiar with one type of farming, then stick with that.
Yeah.
So my friend from California, she had goats and she had chickens. That's what she had. So if she was going to write a story about farming and tried to write it about wheat farming, that would make no damn sense. She'd be better off writing a story about milking goats and raising chicken and eggs.
John,
that's what she did.
See, that's like me. Like I don't write stories about New York because I've never been there and I don't know what it's like there. So I write about the Queen City, which is where I'm from, and it's a mythological, so I can get things wrong.
The point of write what you know is either write what you know or know more. So either do the work, do the research to figure out what you're doing, or write what you know, or again, actually write something.
And maybe play Red Dead Redemption if you want to write something in the
There
West.
you go.
Because honestly, I wish I played that game before I did Angel of Darkness, because it would have changed how I did a lot of stuff with a lot of different things.
Yeah. No, I think you got a lot of stuff to work on now.
Oh yeah, I'm taking input, man. You know.
I mean, you know, anytime you write it, it's growth. So I think you got something there. At least you're putting out the effort to do something with it. So
I'm gonna edit it, man. You know, I'll fine tune it. You know, good notes. You know what I mean? Especially that ranch part. I thought was similar.
If you don't know what words mean, why are you writing, Wolby?
What a ranch and a farm. You know what I mean? I thought it was.
You know, for city people, they think ranches and farms are the same thing.
I live in downtown Toronto. I know the difference between a ranch and a farm because I know what words mean. I have a dictionary. I read things and I learn about the world through other people's experiences, and I use my knowledge of the world to write other things. Like, if you're not learning something when you're writing, you're doing it wrong. Preston wrote an entire sci-fi book learning about interstellar physics. He has spaceships with, like, reverse thrusters. It was super hard to do the art direction for that. John learned a bunch about nuclear physics and decided he didn't want to go any further for his other things. It was too much work, right?
Yeah, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with coming up.
And I don't know shit about mobsters. I have to go learn how that shit works. And if you're not learning something in the process of writing, you're doing it wrong.
I think so too. Like, I mean, you know, if you just start out, maybe try and keep it something simple, of like a simple location that you know about, and then work on that. And
Make it
then,
in the modern day,
you
in a
know,
town
like
that you're familiar with.
as you grow to become a better writer, I think it'll come more naturally to you that I got to do the research for this location, or I need to do the research on this game being played, sort of thing. I mean, but if you stick to something you know that's around you all the time, I think it'll come a lot easier to you, and you can grow as you continue to write.
That's a good idea. You should write this about someone exactly like you who lives exactly where you do, in
Yeah,
exactly the time where you live, who
I
does
think that
exactly the
that's
same
the
thing
best
you do.
approach you could take. Is just,
You should write a book about someone like you writing a book.
yeah, or something you know about very well. Maybe your job or your family, like something like that. That comes easy to you, and just write it down. You don't have to share it, but I mean, just to continue to write it down, and then kind of grow off of that, and then you'll get better at it. It just kind of comes naturally to you.
All
I
right.
feel like I started this big pile on Mulby. I'm
Yes.
sorry, guys.
Yes. Welcome back to the writing stream.
Oh, we didn't need to pile on. Just whatever. We're just helping. We just want to help.
Yeah, man. It's I will be let me fix it.
I'm not the best writer either, so don't feel bad. My writing is all over the place.
None
of us are. That's why we're here.
We get notes, man. We learn. There's some parts I didn't, I wrote where I didn't know. And the part he put, especially about breaking down, I think you said a new paragraph. Because that part I kind of forgot.
Oh, yes. And if you're going to write prose, learn how to write prose.
Forgot
like,
that one.
actually read a book on the proper way to structure a prose.
It's better to just read a whole lot of other things like what you want to write, and then just look at what they do and don't do anything different.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their idol. Everybody has an idol that they kind of copy a little bit, I imagine, when they're writing stuff. Like I love R.A. Salvatore's writing, so I kind of base my stuff off of that a little bit sometimes. So,
well, I mean, it's been a while. What is it? A few years we just been writing comics, man. It's a step back to the novel format, but I'm gonna get it fixed. I'll update it. I'll fix it. I'm rusty. It's been a while since not writing the comic panel format.
Yeah, comic panel format is a lot easier than writing a novel, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
And for that matter, your finished product has art people can look at. So there you go.
I mean, so from doing shows and there's a lot of novelists that are there as well as comic people because we're all in Artist Alley together. And there are, some people are novel people and they like to read novels, and some people are comic book people and, they like to read comic books. And I guess it's just one of the things too, where it's like trying to do both I'm not sure is a good idea. Some people have, but typically when I've talked to people that have novels and comic books, it's usually I wrote the novel and then I gave it to my friend who basically turned it into a comic for me.
I mean, things are switching, man. It's been a while, man. We've been writing comics straight. What is it, Preston? Since 2019 up here?
Something like that. Well, on here, I didn't start this one until I want to say 2020. But yeah, 4 years.
Well, the
4 years.
contest before then, it was that contest. Right. That's 5 years. It just then you go back further, man. It's none but comics. The panel this, panel that, man. So it's going backwards. An old skill. I appreciate it, man. Take the notes.
Well, what I'll say with this, and then I'm sure we should probably wrap it, but because Preston might have some thoughts, but I would say is like Danny was saying, you got to read more. And if you don't, like me personally, when I would tell people that when I was growing up and I tell people I wanted to write, I was writing screenplays, but everybody's like, oh, you got to read, you got to read, you got to read. And it's like, I hated reading novels. I still hate reading novels to this day. I don't think I could sit down and write a novel because I just don't like that particular format. That's personal. Getting into comics, I've actually been reading a lot more comics, and I actually enjoy reading comics. But I think if you are not engrossed in that medium and that format, I don't think you should be writing in that format. If you're not reading a lot of novels, I don't think you should be writing novels. If you want to, as Danny said, write a novel, you need to be reading novels so that you learn how its prose works and how other writers do it, so that you can follow them. Because if you go to do a show and you want to sell your novels at a show, or to anybody that is expecting a novel, they're going to have expectations. And if you don't meet those expectations, you're not going to have repeat customers. I think you just, if you want to write a novel, read novels. If you're not interested in reading novels, then don't write novels. If you like reading comic books, then stick with comic books. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Well, I mean, I published a novel back in, 2012, so that's over 10 years to get back. So, it's just
With a real
rust,
publisher?
man.
Yeah, I was going to, I hate to say it, but I don't always consider self-publishing to be published. Anybody can put anything on Amazon Kindle. It doesn't mean you're self-published.
Published it.
Oh, Preston, you remember Erin and all of her self-published books?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in, everybody. We had an exciting talk tonight. I hope to see everybody next week. I hope Moby becomes more of a regular here, as we're all. And by the way, once again, congratulations.
Drink it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Drink
by
it,
the way,
man.
By the way, hey, Moby, I want to
It
show
doesn't
this.
look like maple syrup. It's not viscous enough.
Yeah.
Sir. It's like, so it stops Canadians.
That's water. Look at that, Ray. It's clearly
you see, he's dating it like a wine, like a
You got
wine
whiskey in there? Or is that actually maple syrup?
Pure maple syrup, man.
Then drink it. I want to see your face.
Nah, you see, I'm, what I mean?
Looking at it, I can tell it's not pure
enough.
maple syrup.
It's pure. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, God.
He commends
Stop lying to us, Mulby.
You know what I'm saying?
It's obviously not.
When you see
that
Canadian,
does not look like maple syrup. I have bought 100% pure maple syrup.
It doesn't even look like corn syrup.
And it's a lot thicker than that.
100% pure, man. It's from
read the ingredients list.
It's
take a swig. Let's see.
Pure maple syrup. That's it.
Drink it.
I like how he's not showing us the ingredients.
Canadian people.
Anyway, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in
to protect me.
And
Canadian violence.
I'll see everybody next week.
All right. Thanks for having us, Preston.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Thanks.